Once and welcome back. I'm Josh Stark, back at MovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And I watched too many anniversaries. I'm sorry, in 2024. I just know this is going to end up at 2025 because there's still movies I wanted to see and put, so it's going to be weird. Beginning of January is going to be weird because there's still going to be a lot of movies from that are celebrated anniversaries in 2024. And this is one of them. This is a film from my childhood that Breakfast All Day does. Was it great or were you eight? And my brain does not distinguish with this movie. I still love this movie. This is The Wizard. There's all of the reasons in the world to like look at this movie and be like, no, and I validate you. Especially if you didn't grow up with it. It's cheesy. It's product placement. It's like a Nintendo. It's a movie created to get people excited about the Nintendo craze. But it has a plot, and I've seen this movie an ungodly amount of times. Just I was sitting there thinking about like movies from my childhood that I'd seen over and over and over. And oftentimes when I do these anniversary releases, I'm like, oh, this is my blank time scene, my blank. With some of these movies, I'm not even really sure how many times I saw it as a kid. Because when you're a kid, sometimes you can watch the same thing. Like you'll watch it on like Monday, and then you'll watch it on Tuesday, maybe again on Tuesday. Like your parents rent it for like 3 days, and then they know you like it, so they rent it for you again, so you see it again. I had that happen to me all the time as a kid with Blockbuster, where whatever it would be, my I you know she wasn't my mom wasn't always trying like new movies on me. It was a lot of tried and trues, like, oh well, I know he likes this, I know he likes this, or even me going in and being like, oh, I want to see that again. I did that a lot in my like ages 5 to 10, which is right where this movie was settled, which is why The Wizard is so ingrained in me. And this doesn't have audio description, but I've seen The Wizard so many fucking times, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's one of those movies for me that I've seen. This is the problem with audio description and why I want audio description is because, and why I bothered to review this without audio description I think I've only done one other anniversary this year, and it was for Street Fighter that didn't have audio description because I had to. I mean, it's fucking Street Fighter, man. Like, again. Um, but I've been trying to do only audio described movies, and but The Wizard, and when I talk to a lot of blind people, one of the reasons I got into advocating for audio description is there's so many blind people that only watch old things from like pre-blindness. They watch the things and they rewatch them over and over. So if you went blind in the 90s, then you don't really watch anything after that. You just kind of watch movies from the 90s or 80s or 70s. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just depends on how old you were, what your content was. You watch the sitcoms you're very familiar with, and you just kind of watch those over and over because you have so many bad experiences with the lack of accessibility that you don't go to the theaters, you don't try to find new movies, you don't want to pay for a streaming service that is inconsistent in its ability to give you audio description. So there are plenty of people out there that know what I'm talking about when I say I've seen The Wizard so many times that I didn't need audio description because like it somewhere back in my brain there's like a VHS of The Wizard and it just plays. Like I popped this movie in and 80% of the images came back like from having seen this movie so many times. I mean, I remembered what Beau Bridges looked like in 1989 in this movie. Like I remembered the little hotel room that they stay in and like where the camera is in that room in that shot when Beau Bridges is playing Nintendo and Christian Slater's like, "Dad, you've lost it." Like you're losing it, man. And like as an adult, I'm like, isn't he supposed to be finding his kid? Like this movie is so hard. It's selling Nintendo that they're like, well, we have to show Beau Bridges playing Nintendo at some point. Um, yeah, it's amazing. And I remember going into the arcade and when they meet Lucas for the first time, that whole scene came back to me. Um, just the Vegas scene where she goes in and she's shouting and getting, what's his name, Skippy or something like that. I forget what his name is. The truck driver, her truck driver friend. Um, it's something like Slippy or Squiddy or Spuds. Uh, and she's shouting all the things at him. And like all these scenes came back to me. It was kind of a nice trip down memory lane in many ways. I remember what Fred Savage looks like, the 1989 version of Fred Savage. Jenny, what the fuck is her last name? Who plays the main girl here? She went on to be in a band. She actually has a band that I've heard of, but I didn't listen to their music, which makes it always hard for me to remember. But a lot of people don't know that the girl from The Wizard grew up and is like a rock star. Like, well, not a rock star, but like not like, oh my god, is that Lady Gaga? It's not, no, it's just I didn't, not on that level, but I had heard of her band before. And Luke Edwards, of course, he starts out here, um, and he'll grow up and he'll do more uh, memorable performances as a child actor. One of the films that I love also that he's in is Little Big League, which 1994. I really want to do an anniversary of that as well. Well, another movie from my childhood. But yeah, The Wizard is cheesy, man. It's like, but it's also really interesting how they have this plot. It's a really, I mean, for a film that's aimed at kids, it's a plot. Like, there's a plot here. Um, you have a lot of adult themes and ideas running through this movie. It's very grown up for a PG Nintendo movie. And you're kind of like, what audience is this made for? So you have, I mean, Fred Savage is technically the lead of the movie, and he's a half brother to Luke Edwards because his dad, Fred's dad in this is Beau Bridges, who was married to this other woman who I don't know who she is. She's not in that movie that much. Um, who, who would not be Fred's mom because, uh, so that means Fred has a different mom that he doesn't really ever mention. And he has an older brother played by Christian Slater, who's also in this and has like these contentious moments with Beau. And they live with their dad, but their half brother, I guess, from when Beau was married to this other lady, is Luke Edwards, who we find out through his interesting backstory. He's played without saying autism. He's played like he has autism, like um, he has this interesting way of being able to process life, which also turns out to help him become like the best Nintendo gamer that ever was and ever will be. So he just kind of he doesn't speak in full sentences. He just kind of just kept saying California a lot. California, California. And Fred Savage is like his whisperer. Like he understands and he tries to figure out. And um, but they want to institutionalize Luke Edwards' character because he just kind of wanders off, which a lot of autistic kids wander off, which is why they try to put locks on doors that are up high so that the kids can't reach them and just walk the fuck out. If you've, I don't know if you ever pay attention to alerts in your area, but a lot of times there's an autistic child that's wandered away from home. And it's because they got out and they just go. So yeah, without actually using the words, they are playing this kid to be autistic, which is, again, in 1989, without saying or doing anything, you're like, this is a movie for kids. Anyway, so Fred Savage takes it upon himself, because he doesn't want his brother to be institutionalized, to break his brother out, and they go on the run. And along the way, Savage realizes that his brother can play video games really well. And they start kind of hustling and trying to get money because they don't have enough money to get to where he wants to go, which is LA, just California. And the along the way they pick up uh, this girl who is a runaway herself, sort of. Um, she's she sort of like knows how to like work angles very well. She's wise, somewhat. I mean, she's a little bit more wise about being out there. Definitely more than the boys. And her backstory is that well, her backstory changes too. Like she presents her backstory as one thing, and then we find out the reality is a little bit different because she kind of talks about her dad, who's a trucker, and that doesn't really change. Like her dad still is a trucker, but she tries to like embellish and be like, "Oh yeah, I've got this great home. It's amazing. My life is perfect," but it's not. And she talks about the fact that her one of the reasons why she knows so much about gambling is because her mom was a gambling addict, and you're like, "This is a fucking kids movie." Uh, so um, and how she gets out of situations because the the other parents, the ones that are in charge of Luke Edwards, they hire this bounty hunter who's a complete dick, and she keeps getting out of situations by essentially calling him a pedophile and saying that he touched her breast. And then, of course, like, which attracts pretty much every other guy in the area to go and beat the shit out of this guy, which is funny because it happens like multiple times. um, but so he's having a rough day, but he's very callous in his nature of not wanting, like, two boys ran away, but he's only being paid to bring one of them back. So that, which provokes Bo and Christian Slater to drive out and find, because they're like, well, what are you gonna do to the other one? Like, they're worried about Fred Savage. So so they got on the road, but all of this ends. It culminates in this trip to a a tournament in Los Angeles to play Nintendo, and they stop in Las Vegas on the way at I already forgot her name, Jenny. You would think with how many times I've seen this movie, the fact that I just saw it, I'd remember everybody's name. I see way too many things. It's retention is tough. Um, but they stop at her house so that they can train on Nintendo. So that, and she's doing that thing that you used to be able to do, Nintendo Power, where they used to have the experts where you could call them back in the day if you got stuck, and they do that where they call for like help with games so that way he can try to get through them. Anyway, so he's prepping, so he's learning how to play Nintendo. It's it's so Nintendo based, and Lucas has that cheesy glove, the Power Glove, and it's great. Lucas is this uh, sort of spoiled brat-ish type of gamer, like the early form of the kind of kid who nowadays would have like 1 million followers on Twitch. Like this kid would be like sponsored by everybody. He feels like the kind of kid that you throw like branding behind and you're like, yeah, sponsored by Red Bull, you know? Um, and so of course it's going to square off between the two. There's like some third girl. They put a girl up there, by the way. So just for equality purposes, like the final three, the other one is a girl. Although she does not do well. It was always going to be between these two, and of course it's always going to be Luke Edwards who's supposed to win this whole thing so that he can save his family and keep himself from being submitted to a mental institution. um, it's yeah, it's weird. It's weird how many adult themes are in this movie and how they weave in and out of these things and the trouble that it presents life on the road as being not great. There's a scene where they flash some cash and an adult like beats them up and takes their cash. Uh, so I I look at this movie and I'm sort of like mystified by it because at one time in one place it's giant product placement. This movie just has Nintendo like breathing out of it more so than a movie made from a Nintendo product, because this is not. necessarily even about, this isn't like Mario Brothers or Double Dragon. This isn't like about a video game specifically. This is about the actual game, Nintendo, the actual like game system, the console, Nintendo, the brand Nintendo. This is all about that. But in and out of this is this movie, and then you find out the reason the kid wanted to go to California the whole time is because he had a twin sister that died, and he has this memory of this place that he was with his sister, and it was there, and like that's why he wanted to go, was he wanted to go to this one place for his sister, and like he leaves this like tribute. That's what all of this whole thing was about. He kept running away because he wanted to like leave what his essentially leave his sister at the place where she was happiest, because of course this movie's super fucking depressing, and there's a dead kid that looms throughout the whole movie that you're not even aware looms throughout the whole movie until the end of the movie. It is such an interesting movie, I love watching The Wizard. And I don't care who knows it. um this is absolutely a desert island movie for me. I also fully acknowledge the fact that it's not technically proficient enough to be, I mean, like I should not be having a conversation where I'm like, oh yes, I watched the greats of the day. Yes, I've seen Casablanca, and I've followed it with some Pulp Fiction, some Godfather, and then I closed the day with The Wizard. It was a great day for cinema. Like I acknowledge that, but this movie makes me happy, and always has, always will. And I think it's one of those movies that as a kid I saw so many times that literally it's like there's a VHS tape of The Wizard in my brain. So yeah, welcome to 1989. This is Trip, and I'm really happy to share this with you. So I'm gonna give The Wizard an A+ because I can. Because I'm here. It does not have audio description any that I know of. I own it, and it doesn't have audio description. I own a digital copy. I keep buying this movie, just trying to. I bought it, and the funny thing is, I bought it, and I'm too lazy to access my other digital copies. So I have two digital copies of this, but I, for some reason, I think I had. It's like the only movie for some reason that I own on my Xbox, but I didn't want. I was too lazy. I don't know why, but I do remember I was like, didn't I buy this? I was like, I don't even know how to access it through there anymore. I don't even remember how to get to it. Like how through the Microsoft store. I was like, why do I have one movie over? So now I have it in the Apple store with the rest of my movies. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.